How do you stop a 26-ton spacecraft traveling at 25,000 miles per hour? The answer is simple but terrifying. You slam it into a wall of air. We're talking about 5,000 degrees of heat, a total communications blackout, and a maneuver so precise it's like skipping a stone across a pond at Mach 32. But that's not all. You also need multiple parachutes to control this compact monster of a capsule and slow its descent. This is stage 1 of the re-entry process. About 20 minutes before they hit the atmosphere, the crew has to say goodbye to the European service module. It has been their power plant and life support for the entire trip, but it doesn't have a heat shield. Explosive bolts fire and the module falls away to burn up like a shooting star over the ocean. Now the 4 astronauts are alone in the Orion capsule, a small, sturdy cone facing the vastness of the coming storm. Here is stage 2. At 75 miles up, this is entry interface. The capsule is screaming toward Earth at 25,000 miles per hour, roughly Mach 32. To put that in perspective, every kilogram of that spacecraft carries nearly 2,000 times more kinetic energy than a commercial jet. It hits the air so hard that the gas simply cannot move out of the way. Instead, it compresses into a white-hot shockwave that reaches 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. That is half the temperature of the sun's surface. Then there is stage 3. It is here when the silence begins. The heat is so intense it strips electrons from the air, wrapping Orion in a cage of glowing plasma. This sheath blocks every radio signal, cutting the crew off from mission control. For several agonizing minutes, the world can only watch a blank telemetry screen and wait while 4 humans ride a fireball through the sky. To survive the sheer violence of this return, Orion does something brilliant. It skips. Instead of a steep, lethal plunge, the capsule uses its shape to generate lift, bouncing off the upper atmosphere like a stone skipping across a pond. During the Artemis I test flight, a deeper skip caused parts of the heat shield to chip away under the pressure. So how do they protect the Artemis II crew? NASA modified the path into a lofted approach. This is stage 4. This gentler dip allows the heat shield material to breathe and vent gases without cracking, while keeping the G-forces manageable for the people inside. With 4 minutes left, the fire finally dies down. The roar of the plasma fades into a subsonic whistle, and the voices of the crew crackle back over the radio. But wait, they are still at 25,000 feet. The most dangerous part of the flight, any miscalculations will break the spacecraft apart. This is stage 5. With the speed finally manageable, it's time to stop flying and start falling. The nose cover blows off and 2 small drogue parachutes fire into the slipstream. Their job is to stabilize the tumbling capsule and pull it into a vertical position. Just a reminder, this is not the main parachute. Moments later, the main event begins. 3 massive orange and white parachutes unfurl. They open in stages, blooming like giant flowers against the blue sky, breaking the multi-ton spacecraft from hundreds of miles per hour down to a gentle 20-mile-per-hour drift. And stage 6. This is 12 minutes after hitting the atmosphere. The journey ends with a splash. But even the final seconds are calculated. The onboard software adjusts the capsule's roll one last time, ensuring it hits the Pacific swells at the perfect angle to protect the crew's spines from the impact. But how did all of this started? This is step 1, Earth departures. The journey begins at NASA historic Kennedy Space Center launch, the Space Launch System, or SLS. As the countdown hits 0, 4 RS-25 engines and 2 massive solid rocket boosters ignite, unleashing a mind-bending 8.8 million pounds of thrust. The rocket tears through the atmosphere, lighting up the Florida coast. Within 2 minutes, the side boosters burn out and fall away into the Atlantic Ocean. The core stage pushes the rocket into low Earth orbit before dropping away, leaving just the Orion crew capsule and the rocket's upper stage. But how do they use gravity to power the spacecraft? Here is step 2, the trans-lunar injection. Orbiting Earth is great, but to reach the moon, the crew needs a massive push. As Orion circles the Earth, the upper stage fires one last time. This maneuver accelerates the spacecraft to over 24,000 miles per hour, breaking Earth's gravitational grip. Once the burn is complete, the upper stage detaches. Now, Orion, powered by its European service module, coasts across the 240,000-mile dark void of space. Then comes step 3, the lunar orbit. What happens when we get to the moon depends on the mission. For the Artemis II test flight, the crew won't enter a traditional orbit. Instead, they'll use a free return trajectory. They will fly around the far side of the moon, using lunar gravity as a giant natural slingshot to hurl them perfectly back toward Earth without needing major engine burns. But for future missions that will actually land on the surface, Orion will enter something called a near-rectilinear halo orbit. Think of it as a highly elongated, egg-shaped path where the gravity of the Earth and the moon balance out. It's incredibly stable and saves a ton of fuel. Here, Orion will park, allowing astronauts to transfer into a waiting lunar lander like SpaceX's Starship to head down to the moon's south pole. But how we'll then come back home, for that we have to look at Step 4: Fire in the sky. It's time to come home. Orion fires its engines to break out of lunar orbit and coast back to Earth. But the return is arguably the most dangerous part of the entire mission. Right before hitting Earth's atmosphere, the service module is thrown away, leaving only the gumdrop-shaped crew capsule. Orion slams into the thick air at 25,000 miles per hour. That is Mach 32. And if you're not careful, at the same speed, you will also be hit by spam calls, junk mail, and online breaches. This data doesn't just result in spam and scam attempts. It can also affect your insurance rates, and ultimately will lead into a loan denial just when you might need credit. Incogni helps protect your privacy by regularly scanning and preventing data brokers from re-uploading your information. You'll also get a clear, real-time dashboard to track the status of your data. As an add-on with Incogni Unlimited plans, you can gain access to this custom removal tool. That's where Incogni comes in. Copy the link of any site exposing your information. Go to the custom removals tool, paste the link, and click submit. That's it. Then wait about 30 to 45 days, and just like that, your data is removed. So take your personal data back with Incogni. Use code AITELLY with the link below, incogni.com/AITELLY, and get 60% off on an annual plan. But how does this actually stack up against the re-entry process of Musk's Crew Dragon? Crew Dragon autonomously disengages from the ISS docking port, releasing the soft capture system and retracting the docking hooks of the hard capture system. With a gentle push from springs, the spacecraft slowly drifts away from the station. While this process is automated, manual backup systems are in place if needed. As Crew Dragon moves away, departure burns are performed using its thrusters. The first burn slightly increases the distance from the ISS. Once these burns are complete, the spacecraft enters independent flight mode, meaning it is now flying freely in orbit, preparing for the next phase of the journey. To ensure proper alignment with the re-entry path, facing burns and orbit adjustments take place. Crew Dragon gradually lowers its orbit through a series of controlled burns, positioning itself for the critical de-orbit maneuver. This is a crucial step, carefully calculated by mission control to guide Crew Dragon toward its designated landing zone. The Draco thrusters fire for several minutes, slowing the spacecraft and directing it toward Earth's atmosphere. Before re-entry, this is where trunk jettison occurs. The trunk, which houses the spacecraft's solar panels and radiators, is detached and left to burn up in the atmosphere, while the capsule continues its controlled descent. As Crew Dragon enters the atmosphere, it experiences the most intense phase of the journey. Traveling at speeds exceeding 17,500 miles per hour, the capsule endures extreme heat and pressure, with its heat shield providing protection. The buildup of plasma around the spacecraft causes a brief blackout in communications, a normal but dramatic part of re-entry. Once the fiery descent is complete, the parachute deployment and splashdown sequence begins at around 18,000 feet, which is around 5.5 kilometers. 2 parachutes deploy to stabilize the capsule. Moments later, at 6,000 feet, this is around 1.8 kilometers, 4 main parachutes fully open, ensuring a smooth and controlled descent. Crew Dragon then splashes down in either the Atlantic Ocean or the Gulf of Mexico, depending on weather conditions. After splashdown, recovery and crew extraction operations begin immediately. SpaceX recovery teams quickly arrive by boat, securing the capsule and assisting the astronauts. Following medical checks, the crew is transported back to land, marking the successful completion of their journey home.